Oh, yeah. All right. Welcome to the show. It is Ringside Report. I'm Dave Simon. AJ DeLezio is here, the man himself.
Ho. And a ho.
Welcome to the show. Happy holidays. Hope everybody had a nice Merry Christmas. Everybody enjoying the Hanukkah that's still going on. And, of course, this will be our last show of 2019. So, Happy New Year to everybody. This is it. Last show of 2019 for Ringside Report. And Freddie, he's done. He's already checked out for the year. Fred Garcia not here tonight.
Skiing.
He's out on a ski vacation because he's a luxurious man, and he's out on a fancy vacation. That's how Fred lives, and
Freddie's a high roller, man.
we salute you, Fred. We love you. I know you're watching the show here tonight. Of course, if you're listening to this on the radio, you can watch the show.
What are you talking about? It's like 8:13. Freddie's probably sleeping at this point.
No, I think Fred's awake, so you can watch the show on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. More info on everything that we do is at ringsidereport.net, Wrestling Uncensored, Dave and Johnny Live, Ringside Report, everything available, podcasts, YouTube, everything at ringsidereport.net. We'll have a new episode of What's Fandom in Japan dropping next week, early next week on like a Monday, so get ready for that as we're going to preview Wrestle Kingdom coming up January 4th and 5th. But that's Japanese wrestling. We're here to talk about MMA in Japan because the legendary Fedor Emelianenko going back to Japan, a New Year's card this weekend coming up on Saturday. Bellator Japan, Fedor versus Rampage. Quentin Rampage Jackson. Two legends of the sport. Not in their prime anymore, but still wanting to fight, still looking for that big main event. And for me, this is the fight of the month. This is the most exciting deal that we have. I'm very excited for this one. You know, Kobe and Kamaru was cool. Max and Volkanovski was cool. Frankie Edgar and the Korean Zombie was cool.
Woo.
But this is a different level thing. These are two legends. And yeah, this isn't, the top level of mixed martial arts anymore. But still, like, these guys, they've been fighting forever. They fought in Pride. And now they're going to be fighting each other for the first time ever, which is pretty cool, Rampage and Fedor have been around.
Two former champions, like you said. How much better does it get?
Yeah, and now they're finally going to fight for the first time. Like, it's cool that this is a first-time fight. You would have figured at some point down the road they would have met, but they haven't. And now Fedor versus Rampage going down this weekend. We're going to preview that. We're also going to talk a little bit about the year that was in MMA and the decade that was. I don't want to kind of break it down fight by fight, year by year, and all of that, because that just takes too long.
Or make it sound too sad. It sounds already a decade. It's gone by.
Well, I'm not sad about that. I'm fine with that.
I am, man.
Time passes, AJ.
And
It's what happens.
Freddie doing his après-ski knows what I'm talking about.
All right. Well, I don't want to get into, fight of the decade, because to me, fight of the decade is like impossible.
No.
Even fight of the year is hard. To say what was the number one fight that you saw all year when there are so many fights, I don't know. If you asked me what's fight of the year, I couldn't tell you.
Well,
so then fight of the decade, I really couldn't tell you. You have a little research. You have some nominees here for me.
We have a few nominees.
I have some ideas as far as fighter of the decade. Fighter of the year, I think we can get into. There's always one person who stands above the rest, whose accomplishments kind of stand above the rest. In a year, it's debatable. Over a decade, there's more debate, and we're going to talk about that here on the show tonight.
Well, in a decade, it's hard to say which is the best fight, but going into 2019, I mean, in my opinion, I think the best fight was just not that long ago. Colby, Usman. I think that was a barn burner, and I think that should be nominated, if not the fight of the year.
It was a good fight.
What do you mean it was just a good fight? It was a great fight, man.
Yeah, there have been some good fights in 2019, though, haven't there? Like,
No, there's been fantastic. It's been a great year for MMA. I mean, other than like John Jones as not being the most productive fighter, and his 2019 two fights that he had weren't like the best fights of John Jones' career. Hopefully it'll be a better 2020 for John Jones. But you know what? He's getting older, and there's a lot of hungry guys coming in. And you know what? The lightweight is like not having that much weight in that division. So you know what? Let's hope other than John Jones. I mean, we saw Masvidal coming in. We saw Colby coming in. Usman, Israel. There's you name it. Cejudo and all that. Mind you, he's injured. But regardless, so many great fighters, and the game has done really well without a great John Jones, without George St-Pierre, without McGregor.
Yeah.
And you know what? 2020 is going to be a fireworks for all the legends, I think.
You're getting really excited,
I
AJ,
am, man. It's 2020 coming up.
I understand. And you said
Connor.
Your fight of the year was what? Usman and Covington? You think that was fight of the year?
I think it was 25 minutes of like just crazy action, man.
I was looking at it, fight of the year and fighter of the year. And I think fighter of the year is an easy one. I think fighter of the year and maybe fight of the year is going to go to the same guy, and that's Israel Adesanya.
Whoa, I'm surprised. I think someone else you were going to say.
Israel Adesanya, to me, is fighter of the year. You look at the 2019 that he had, 3 victories, 2 in UFC title fights, and the other one was against Anderson Silva. So the torch was passed in February when the former champion lost to the up-and-coming new champion, Israel Adesanya. Anderson losing a decision. Then Israel and Kelvin Gastelum, I thought was fight of the year. That fight was incredible.
That was a barn burner too, man.
I'll give it to you. That's fight of the year. That was my favorite fight I saw all year.
It was a great fight. There's no doubt about it. It was incredible. But I think the Colby one, in my opinion, was just a step above. But,
that's fine.
But those were awesome fights.
But again, it's harder to be like, well, this was a better fight than this. Like, it's two guys putting their bodies and hearts and everything on the line. And in both fights, vicious.
It was vicious.
Both fights were vicious. Like, go back and watch. You saw the Kamaru Kobe fight recently. Go back and watch the Kelvin Israel fight from April of 2019. It was incredible. It was an incredible fight. And to me, Israel Adesanya, fighter of the year, beats Anderson Silva, beats Kelvin Gastelum, and beats Robert Whittaker to end the year as the undisputed UFC middleweight champion. 3 wins in 1 year, 2 of them in title fights. Who else has done that? Who else has had that many title fight victories even in 2019 in the UFC?
Look, you know what?
Anybody?
No, you're right. You're right.
Anybody?
Dave, you're right. But you know what? I was surprised that you said Israel. I thought you were going to say someone else. And I'm like, oh, for sure he's going to mention this name. So I'm just surprised.
Gegard Mousasi?
No, Mousasi. Where's Mousasi? I think he's
John Jones had a good year.
John Jones, he didn't have a great year. He was like
if you look at the numbers, he didn't have an exciting year. He didn't have great fights. But if you look at what he did, he defended his championship twice in 2019. You can roll your eyes all you want, AJ, but not many champions defend twice in 1 year. And John Jones defended twice this year against Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos, both in decision fights. But
well, you know what?
He still got the job done twice in big title fights, which is hard to do in the UFC.
Right. And I'll give it to you on that. But we're talking about Jones. What about Santos? Santos should be really the main focus here, because that guy there, as a fight goes with John Jones, yes, John Jones won, but Thiago Santos was fighting with one leg, and he carried it through to the end. So if anyone has to get recognition, it's Santos.
No.
Because Jones,
no.
He won it. But listen, let's see
John
that
Jones
fight.
won.
John Jones won, and it wasn't like it was a good fight on his end, but it wasn't a great John Jones fight.
No.
It was a great Santos fight who fought with heart and fought with one leg. So you know what? 2020 is going to be another story. There's Dominic Reyes coming up. There's a lot of action that's going to happen in the lightweight division.
All right.
And
AJ,
Santos will be back.
It's time for you to put your hatred of John Jones on the back burner.
What are you talking about? I love Jones.
I'm looking at fighter of the year here. I'm looking at Kamaru Usman as well. He had 2 title victories. He won the title, beat Tyron Woodley, then defended the title against Colby Covington. Big year for Usman as well.
Yeah,
But I think Israel Adesanya stands above the rest this year.
Well, that's what I was trying to say before I went into the John Jones bandwagon.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
thought you were gonna mention. I was so sure you were gonna say Masvidal is the fighter of the year. Masvidal's fight with Diaz would have been close to. Some people say that's the fight of the year, and to be honest, I thought Masvidal deserves it. He's awesome. He's the real BMF. This guy here is the fighter of the year, and I think he's shown above everyone else, in my opinion. But hey, it's AJ's opinion.
He didn't win a UFC title. He didn't fight in any UFC title
fights. He got the BMF. It's a title.
It's not a real championship. He's not regarded as number one in his division. He beat Darren Till, Ben Askren, and Nate Diaz in 2019. He had maybe the biggest blockbuster fight of 2019. I don't think there was a bigger fight than the BMF Nate Diaz George Masvidal fight. That doesn't make George Masvidal fighter of the year. Israel Adesanya beat Anderson Silva and then won two title fights. Come on now. Israel Adesanya went to war with Kelvin Gastelum and Robert Whittaker. He knocked out Robert Whittaker, the former champion.
So what about Masvidal's knockout of Ben Askren in record time? It's going to be it's in the history books.
Was Ben Askren a UFC champion?
But Ben Askren
was it a title fight?
Listen, man, he was undefeated, and to be honest, I called Ben Askren for that win. That's right. But in the end, Masvidal did the job, and everybody knows this guy's name. I think if you look at performance and just total package, Masvidal's the guy.
Masvidal had a really good year.
And look,
but I wouldn't call him fighter of the year. I'm giving that to Israel Adesanya. You compare Masvidal's 3 wins to Israel Adesanya's 3 wins, I think Masvidal's wins are more impressive. The guys he beat are more impressive.
And what happens if it comes to Usman?
What about Usman?
Right? What do you mean, what about Usman?
Masvidal and Usman?
Yeah, if it doesn't happen with Leon Edwards
What
first,
about it?
I think
Leon
Masvidal
Edwards has a fight already, doesn't he?
I'm not sure, but I don't think so. But the thing is that it could happen. Between one of those 3, it's going to happen in 2020.
Leon Edwards is going to fight Rafael Dos Anjos July 20th.
When?
Oh, no, that already happened.
Yeah.
No, hold on.
No, he was Usman said that if he had to give a fight to anybody next that deserves it, it's Leon Edwards. So
Tyron Woodley's going to fight Leon Edwards March 21st.
So that's in March. All right. So
UFC in London, England. It's going to be Tyron Woodley versus Leon Edwards. So Leon Edwards is not getting the next shot at Kamaru Usman. Could it be George Masvidal?
Makes sense.
2020 could be the year of Masvidal. He had a great 2019. He made a lot of money, but he's not my fighter of the year. My fighter of the year is Israel Adesanya. Who is yours?
I said Masvidal. That's my fighter of the year. 2019, It's him. But as I was going to say, he's my fighter of the year. But if I had to say who would have been my real pick for fighter of the year prior to him losing, you know who I'm going to say? Let's drink him. I've been drinking him for the last 2 days.
Johnny Walker?
Exactly.
But Johnny lost.
I know he lost, but he still had an impressive performances before that loss. He was probably the most exciting fighter to come out in 2019.
Why do you make Mackenzie Dern your fighter of the year?
Well, she was my fighter of the year of 2018, Dave.
Was she? Why?
Yeah. Well, because it's Mackenzie Dern. And now my new female fighter is, drum roll, please.
Who?
Well, you know who it is.
The jiu-jitsu fighter?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a different story if she ever transitions into MMA. But right now, as fighter goes, Danielle Kelly, check her out.
She's your favorite fighter.
Yeah, man.
All right.
She destroyed Cavillo in the Quintet Ultra. You saw it. It was awesome. She's an amazing fighter. But, look, honestly, Johnny Walker, if he didn't lose his last fight and would have won, I would have hands down given it to Johnny Walker as fighter of the year. But you know what? He's still up there.
Unbelievable.
He's ranking up. He was even on the top 15, and all of a sudden, where is he now? I think he's ranked 11th. But still, he's moving on up. 2018, he wasn't even in anywhere in the top rankings, I think in the top 20 or whatever.
Why are you talking about guys that have lost?
But it's Johnny Walker, Dave.
I know.
He'll be back in 2020.
Man,
You'll see.
I miss Fred sometimes.
Freddie knows what I'm talking about. He's probably having Johnny Walker right now.
So Johnny North, our good buddy.
North? What do you say?
He just sent me a message. He says, Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier, UFC 241. That's his fight of the year.
Johnny's got a good point there.
Back in August, that was a great one.
That was a great fight. Great fight.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many good fights in a given year. To pinpoint it down to one fight being the fight of the year, it's hard to do.
You know what? It's always like it really depends. Like
I thought
everybody has their
Adesanya Gastelum was the one that I remembered as being an incredible fight more than any other fight this year. But yeah, Stipe and DC was really good too.
And then
Kamaru and Kobe was really good too.
You get some messages that came in, and
Nate Diaz, Anthony Pettis, the co-main event was really fun too. But the Stipe DC card.
But also, like we got some messages coming in. Holloway Poirier too. That was an awesome fight.
That was incredible. Yeah,
that was an incredible fight. So 2019 has been a great year for the UFC. There's no doubt about it, and that's without like the monstrous names that are coming into 2020. When Conor comes back, and like I said in last week's show, I mean, a lot of people haven't seen Conor training lately, but take a look at his pics. The guy looks jacked. He looks like a beast. He's coming to really...
Could 2020 be the year of McGregor again?
The King will return in 2020. And you know what? There's a lot of haters out there, but Conor is coming back. Yeah, he's worth probably $1 billion right now as we speak with Proper 12. But the truth of the matter is that he needs to win. He needs to...
Of course, AJ.
He needs to win. But look, all right, he's coming back. Conor's back.
Now, we've gone through kind of fight of the year type of thing, right? You have your choices. I have mine.
Yeah.
What about fighter of the decade? Is Conor McGregor the fighter of the decade?
Oh, Conor McGregor, the fighter. That's a tough one. I was going to say...
He's got to be... He's got to be up there.
I was going to say between two guys, you're looking at George...
What?
Well, he came back and he won a title.
If you fight once in a decade, you can't be fighter of the decade.
Well,
man.
He came back from retirement and took away someone's title. I think, and it's George St-Pierre. He came back and he could be considered fighter of the decade.
No, he can't. Be. He can't. But
yes, he is, man. He came back and won it, buddy. He won it fair and square. But if I have to say who really takes the fighter of the decade. Man, this is crazy. Like I was looking at some of the highlights, and I'm looking back 10 years ago. I remember the fights like they happened yesterday. Chael Sonnen against Anderson Silva. That happened 10 years ago. Is that ridiculous, Dave?
Yeah,
it seems like yesterday, and I still remember that fight.
But that's kind of towards the end of Anderson's run, right? So Anderson Silva, you can't really consider fighter of the decade. Now to George St-Pierre, I mean, I guess you have a point because he did fight a few times this decade. 2010, he beat Josh Koscheck. 2011, Jake Shields. 2012, Carlos Condit. 2013, he beat Nick Diaz and Johnny Hendricks.
What more do you want?
And then he came back in 2017 after 4 years away and beat Michael Bisping. My only thing that I think would disqualify George from being fighter of the decade is those 4 years of inactivity and then the 3 years since where he hasn't fought.
Look, if George came in 2019 and he would have fought this year, I mean, this guy here is like hands down, I think, a possibility for fighter of the decade. But in my true opinion...
But he hasn't fought that much.
He hasn't fought that much, but he's beat like some of the best fighters at their prime.
Seven fights
in a decade. It's like one fight a year.
Compare that, though,
it's not like Cowboy Cerrone that fights like...
Compare that to Conor McGregor, who really made a name for himself this decade. When I'm thinking about fighter of the decade... I want a fighter that defines the decade. I want a fighter that wasn't really known last decade that came to prominence this decade and kind of took over. And Conor McGregor is one of those guys. George St-Pierre, to me, can't really be fighter of the decade because last decade we knew who George St-Pierre was. Like in 2008, we were very well aware who GSP was. He was
55,000 capacity.
He
was
a world
seconds.
champion.
Sure.
In 2008, Conor McGregor was having his first professional fight. Okay? So Conor McGregor really is a fighter of this decade. He made his UFC debut in 2013 and then went on to win 7 straight fights, including the Aldo win to win his UFC title. Then he had the Nate Diaz fights, Eddie Alvarez, and Khabib. He fought 11 times in this decade in MMA, including, those big ones, plus a big boxing match with Floyd Mayweather. So Conor, to me, is in the running for Fighter of the Decade based on activity this decade, based on coming to prominence in this decade. This has been the decade of McGregor more than any other male fighter. But I don't think he's the fighter of the decade.
Look, you didn't like. I was going out on like George St-Pierre, and he's one of the guys running for fighter of the decade. He deserves it, but in truth, if anybody has to be that fighter of the decade, a guy who's brought the UFC to a level that not even George did. It went from a $2 million investment 25 years ago to like $3 or $4 billion sold a couple of years back. I mean, the guy is making the UFC the future again is Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor has sold out like I think 5 blockbuster pay-per-views like out of 6, and you're right, he was fighting in boxing and he's all over the map. He's got like a brand out. Conor McGregor has gone outside of the fight game and become like a name. He's become a character. I mean, they make cartoons of him. But he's become like a clothing wear. The guy's everything. But the thing is, it's Conor McGregor, and he, in my opinion, it really is the fighter of the decade.
Okay, AJ.
But in 2020, if he doesn't win, he could go from champion to nothing.
AJ, George, we were saying fighter of the decade. You were fully convinced. Then I went over.
No. I didn't say I was fully convinced. I said he's a possibility.
No. You gave him as your nominee.
What? Now, I was saying I didn't finish, man.
Now, I went over Conor's accolades, and of course, Conor had a tremendous decade, and for sure, Conor McGregor. But you want to talk about crossing over. You want to talk about changing the game.
Tell me, who changes the game more than Conor?
Ronda Rousey.
What?
I don't think anybody
Are you serious, Dave?
changed the game more than Ronda Rousey in this decade.
Look, I give it
women's
to you.
MMA in the UFC did not exist. We may not have women's MMA, period, right now if Ronda Rousey didn't exist and wasn't the superstar and the athlete and the person that she is. Ronda Rousey began her first MMA fight in 2011. And look at what she's accomplished. She's become a household name. She brought women's MMA into the UFC. She's main evented WrestleMania. She was not only, the first woman to main event a UFC pay-per-view, but the first woman to main event a WrestleMania. She has reached iconic status. She's completely changed the sport. She's put the women's mixed martial arts game on the same level as the men's. They're main eventing pay-per-views on a regular basis. Women's MMA has arrived because of Ronda Rousey, and I think you look at her record, 12-0, going into the decade, finishing her career at 12-2, fighting from 2011 to 2016, everything she accomplished, UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion, defending that championship more than anyone else. Ronda Rousey, for me, fighter of the decade, without a doubt.
No, Dave, come on,
You talk about selling pay-per-views. You talk about crossing over. All the things you said about Conor McGregor, you could say about Ronda Rousey, and then some, because Conor McGregor, existing or not, men still fight in the UFC. Ronda Rousey doesn't exist. I'm not sure we have women fighting in the UFC. Dana White has said that, if it wasn't for Ronda, he was not going to even entertain the idea.
Look, I'm going to give it to you.
Big. That's sport changing.
Look, Amanda. In my opinion, I think Amanda Nunes is, in my opinion, female fighter of 2019, 2018,
sure,
and way back. So
2018 and 2016, okay, but not 2014, not 2015, not 2013,
right.
not 2012, not 2011. That was
all
But the
game
Ronda.
has changed, Dave. The game has completely changed. I mean, I got to give it to Ronda. Ronda was exciting. She did bring out like this fan base, a female fan base that grew, and it's still growing in the UFC. I mean, there's so many female watchers of the UFC. It's incredible. Sure. And Ronda was a big factor. She came out, she destroyed and whatnot. But she did take some good losses, and then she was gone. So the thing is with Ronda is that, You know, a lot of people are still waiting for her to come back. But the truth of the matter is that can she still be competitive to what's out there? I mean, the real fighter out there, someone who comes out and fights from Rose
Sure.
to
AJ, I'm not
to Amanda,
saying, I'm not
to
saying,
Cyborg.
Okay.
I mean, these ones were names that people will remember.
Yeah,
and you know what? People are
but-
going to forget Amanda. You know, like the newer generation is not going to remember Ronda.
No, that's incorrect. Everyone will remember Ronda. People will forget Amanda.
What?
Amanda, correct, AJ.
Blasphemy, Dave.
Who sells pay-per-views? Who more people know Ronda Rousey today than Amanda Nunes, and that will not change. Amanda Nunes is the greatest women's fighter of all time. Ronda Rousey is the fighter of the decade. You wouldn't care about Amanda Nunes had she not beat Ronda Rousey. The only reason you give a damn about who Amanda Nunes is today, AJ, is because she beat Ronda.
And she's beaten many other
The only reason
female
people
fighters.
know who Holly Holm is because she beat Ronda. Ronda's number one.
All right,
She
Dave.
changed the game. She changed the game,
No, she
AJ.
definitely changed the game. I'll agree with you on that. And I'm saying her transition into WWE and whatnot has been awesome. I mean, I remember her like calling out like Floyd Mayweather before Conor even get a chance like to fight him. You remember that?
Before Ronda, the idea of a woman selling 1 million pay-per-views in the UFC was unheard of. It was unthinkable. You were like, what? Women are going to main event a UFC pay-per-view and they're going to sell 1 million pay-per-views? What women's fight is going to do this? How is this going to happen? And it wasn't like, well, it shouldn't happen, or it was just like, well, who is going to come along and be that type of draw that's going to draw that many people in? How is this going to work? How is this all going to work out? And Ronda came in and she said, watch, look at this. Watch the Ronda Rousey show. And the whole world did for like 5 years.
For
and it
sure.
was amazing.
Look, in the UFC, she made her name. But like if you're looking before that, I mean, there are other names that carried female fighters into the mainstream. You're looking at Chris Cyborg, Gina Carano. Those were the first fights. I mean, in front of
Not
40,000
mainstream.
fans.
Those were-
but those were the beginning to
Yeah.
open up Dana White's
But
head to say, you
Ronda-
know what? Maybe
No.
we need female fighters.
He saw that fight and he said, nope.
What do you mean he said nope? He said yep
No,
after.
he saw the Gina Carano Cyborg fight, and he saw Cyborg beating up Gina Carano, and he said, I don't think people are going to want this in the UFC. He saw that fight, and he was not convinced that women's MMA was going to come in. And he was asked at one point, is women's MMA ever going to happen in the UFC? He said, never. No way. And then Ronda Rousey changed everything. Like, no one else has had that kind of impact on the sport of MMA this decade. People have had great impacts on the sport. Conor's been huge this decade. John Jones has come to prominence in this decade. He won his first championship. Like, you know, no one really knew who John Jones was before this decade, and he came in and he became a superstar of the sport. There are a lot of people that did a lot over the past 10 years, but I don't think anybody did as much as Ronda did for the advancement of mixed martial arts in the UFC.
Look, I'm not going to take it away from her. She's one of
There
my
are
favorite female fighters
There are
of all
3
time.
divisions full of fighters in the UFC right now that would not be in the UFC if it were not for Ronda Rousey. 3 whole divisions, 115, 135, and 125. I know there's supposed to have a 145 division. There's a champion. You know, Nunes is the champion, but there isn't really a division. But, you know, there's 3 divisions with some real talent there, and that's because of Ronda.
Look, I mean,
That's because of
listen,
Ronda.
let's leave it to our...
How many divisions are there because of Conor McGregor?
No, well, Conor's gone like...
He hasn't created entire divisions for the sport. Like, he hasn't been that type of shift in the game, you know?
Well, he's made
He's
few
made
shifts,
a lot of money.
like MMA to boxing.
He's made a lot of money, but Ronda made a lot of money too, and
yeah, but
she changed the sport and the way we view MMA, and you know, come on, man.
No, I agree.
And you
I'm
look
not
at
taking that away.
women's professional sports as a whole. We're not even talking about MMA. I mean, you look at what Ronda Rousey's been able to do. Very few women in professional sports can go and make a living equal to male athletes like Ronda Rousey has done. It's incredible. And yeah, sure, Conor crossed over and made a ton of money with Floyd Mayweather. Ronda Rousey crossed over to the WWE and elevated everybody there and managed to be the last match at WrestleMania with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. It was women for the first time ever there. So she even, broke boundaries in pro wrestling. Conor didn't really break any boundaries, just made a lot of money with Floyd Mayweather. Ronda,
no, Dave.
Ronda
I
has advanced the sport, advanced 2 separate sports, and she has my utmost respect.
I agree with you. A lot of respect, Ronda. If you're listening to me, I mean, you're awesome. But we can't take away people that have been fighting, top level fighters now, very well rounded fighters, like Amanda Nunes. And Amanda Nunes is the future. And you know what? Thanks. Look, and I'm going to give it to you. Leave it to our listeners. What do you think? Are you agreeing with me, Amanda Nunes, or are you going to agree with Dave, Ronda Rousey?
You think Amanda Nunes is fighter of the decade?
I think so, man. She's been around for
more
since
than Conor McGregor.
Oh, female fighter.
No, I'm saying fighter of the decade.
Fighter of the decade goes to Conor McGregor.
There'd be no Amanda Nunes if it wasn't for Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, but she's been fighting in Strikeforce from way back too, Dave. Let's think about it.
And no
back
one
in
cared.
those days.
And no one watched. And you know what? Ronda's gone, and now Amanda Nunes is fighting, and no one's watching.
What are you talking about?
Amanda Nunes was 3rd from main event on the last UFC pay-per-view that probably didn't even sell 1 million pay-per-views. If that was Ronda Rousey, she'd be in the main event, and they would have sold 1 million. You know it, and I know it. No one cares about Amanda Nunes. She's the best women's fighter of all time, but she's not selling pay-per-views. Nobody cares.
Dave.
What?
Dave,
Am
Dave,
I
Dave.
wrong?
Where's Johnny North? Johnny!
Am I wrong? Am I wrong, AJ? Tell me I'm wrong.
Look,
I dare you.
What I'm going to say is this, is that you've got a point.
What? Yeah,
There's
I'm
no
right.
doubt about it.
I'm 100% right. That's what you're going to say? I wish Fred was here to just
Freddie is sitting back having a Johnny Walker drink. I know what Freddie's doing right now.
Oh, I miss him so much.
He's got on his bathrobe. He's got his cigar out. I know he's doing his après-ski stuff. Don't worry, Freddie. Freddie agrees with me. He's probably going to say, you know what? AJ is right on this. Amanda Nunes. He's got a point.
I'm actually getting a message from Fred. He actually,
damn it, Fred.
He disagrees with both of us.
What?
He says John Jones, fighter of the decade,
16-0. Well, you know what? Some people will go towards Fred. Fred, you got a point there. You have a great point. But he is not Conor McGregor. He hasn't sold out pay-per-views like Conor McGregor has. He hasn't become an icon to a country like he has. The transition from MMA to boxing, he revived boxing. Well, there's so much you can say. I agree with you on the Conor McGregor thing.
You see how difficult it is to really nail down a pick for fighter of the decade. I've got Ronda.
Freddie.
AJ's going with Conor, and Freddie's got Johnny Bones Jones. So,
yeah, but Jones's last 2 fights are, and and the whole light heavyweight division has been not that great. Honestly, it's gonna get a lot better. 2020 is gonna be something big in the light heavyweight division, and I really think the belt will be changed. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Remember,
where
I said,
are my
Freddie?
bagels?
Oh man, I forgot. No, I said I'm gonna wait till Freddie gets back.
To give me bagels?
Yeah, for the new year, man.
You owe me.
It's a Jewish thing. You give bagels for New Year, man.
It's the beginning of November. You lost this bet where your boy Johnny Walker lost to my boy Corey Anderson, and now you owe me a dozen bagels. I still don't have them.
AJ's going to get those bagels when Freddie gets here. But the thing is, it's not that easy. I know Johnny keeps saying about this bagel place 24 hours, but it's the holidays, Johnny. It's not that easy.
Deal
AJ's
with it. Get me
lately.
bagels. So Freddie and Johnny North, I'm seeing here, both agree that their fighter of the year is John Jones. So I guess we've been outvoted.
Johnny too?
Yeah, Johnny too. So
come on,
fighter
John.
of the decade, rather, John Jones. So we've been outvoted, but nevertheless, my fighter they're not on the show and we are. So my fighter of the decade is Ronda Rousey, and yours is Conor McGregor.
The notorious McGregor, who's going to be back in 2020, and it's going to be another McGregor show, man. It's going to be another 5 years of Conor going wild.
Well, we will talk about the wrestler of the decade on Dave and Johnny Live, and then we'll talk about wrestler of the year and match of the year and all that type of stuff, pro wrestling-wise, WWE and AEW, on Wrestling Uncensored this week. So we have a little bit of year-end stuff on Wrestling Uncensored too.
Can't wait.
And Dave and Johnny Live every Friday afternoon at 12:30. Johnny North and I talking professional wrestling and anything else. We were gonna do like match of the decade and pay-per-view of the decade, but then I started looking back at the decade and I was like, there's too many of these things. We'd be on on YouTube for like 3 hours, so I don't want to do that because it would take too long. So we're just gonna do a wrestler of the decade, and we'll have a nice, healthy debate of who is the best wrestler, most impactful wrestler over the past 10 years, and my answer might surprise you. So definitely
I'm waiting.
Tune in to Dave and Johnny live.
Rey Mysterio.
Well, you have to watch Dave and Johnny live to find out. Go to ringsidereport.net for more info on how to watch that show. We're going to take a short pause here on the radio side, and when we come back, we will preview Fedor versus Rampage, baby. Bellator. And we'll also tell you what happened in Korea last weekend. Some nice victories for some people, you know. Charles Jourdain with a nice win. We'll talk about UFC Korea and also what happened in Hawaii. Josh Barnett didn't fight. It was pretty disappointing. So we'll get to that and more when we come back. It is Ringside Report. Stay with us.
Johnny, are you serious?
Yeah. There we go.
Johnny, are you serious? But first of all, what I was going to say is the wrestling fight of the year, in my opinion, that I saw, and he got an award for it, is Johnny North, man, and Drew Onyx. The strap match was like a beatdown.
I thought you were going to say Cain Velasquez versus Brock Lesnar.
That was good too, man.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty...
In the WWE.
Think about it. Like a decade ago, Cain Velasquez was like a young fighter coming on the scene, and he was the baddest heavyweight ever. He came on, and he performed. And look at him today. Poor Cain, man. 10 years later. That's why I'm telling you, your shelf life in MMA is not long, man.
Looking over the decade, you really notice, like, man, a lot happens in 10 years. Like, careers come and go.
It's crazy, man.
It's like you can be at the top of the world. Like Anderson Silva started this decade, top of the world, middleweight champion, unstoppable. Ends the decade retired?
Well, technically, he's not retired. Like,
is he going to fight again?
I don't know, man.
Can't he just fight George and get it over with?
You want him to fight George?
Hell
at
yeah.
this point? George is not going to fight him. He knows he's going to beat Anderson. I mean, Anderson right now is like all busted up. And I love Anderson Silva. Like, you know, a lot of people could say that Anderson Silva could still be considered fighter of the decade. I mean, it's Anderson Silva. Come on, guys.
No, I disagree.
So
all right, AJ, let me tell you a little bit about IP Vanish.
Oh, IP Vanish.
We've been telling you about IP Vanish to secure yourself on the internet. Now, the folks at IP Vanish want to make it easier for you in this holiday period for your friends and family. IP Vanish consistently tests as one of the fastest VPNs in the industry, so you never have to worry about lag or latency. They've got their new gadgets. Now you can help protect them. Tell them, or better yet, gift them IP Vanish for securing connected devices from third-party interference. And now, any new user visiting IP Vanish from now until January 2nd, so you got to go right now, until January 2nd, you can save up to 73% on a VPN plan. That's right. IP Vanish for as low as $325 a month. Only a secure VPN like IP Vanish can truly keep your internet activity secure, especially if you're using your phone or computer on public Wi-Fi hotspots. And we've all been hearing in the news lately, those Wi-Fi hotspots are not safe. They are taking your data. They are checking you out. You need to protect yourself. You need IP Vanish. Now, a great benefit for listeners and viewers of the show, you like to stream live sports. Now, when you establish a connection to an IP Vanish server, it will mask your IP address. It's as though you're using the internet from your server's location. IP Vanish is available user-friendly software for all your devices, including Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and Fire TV. Now, here's the important part.
What?
If you sign up for a subscription that includes a 7-day money-back guarantee using our link, the Ringside Report Network will receive a small commission that will help us produce more content. So open a browser right now. Open another browser window. Keep listening to us. Go to vpn.ringsidereport.net to sign up today. You go to vpn.ringsidereport.net and hook yourself up with IP Vanish. You will be happy. You will be secure on the internet. IP Vanish.
I feel so secure, Dave. It's incredible.
Now,
awesome.
a little word for our friends at Stitcher as well.
Stitcher.
Now, at the Ringside Report Network, we've been producing podcasts for a long time. A lot of you have been using Stitcher to stream or download our shows. Stitcher offering you the Ringside Report universe as part of the sponsorship of our work, a special premium offer on Stitcher. Now, besides all our podcasts, you can listen to over 100,000 podcasts on Stitcher Premium on your iPhone, Android, tablet, PC, in your car, on demand, ad-free with Stitcher Premium. You've got Joe Rogan, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, Grillin' with JR, Ringside Report Network, and so much more. Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, comedy albums, so much audio content for you on Stitcher. It's $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, which is a tremendous deal. What you got to do is you go to Stitcher.com/premium, Stitcher.com/premium, and use the promo code Ringside. Use the promo code Ringside at Stitcher.com/premium for a free month.
Wow.
A free month of Stitcher when you go to Stitcher.com/premium. Use the promo code Ringside right now.
Dave, it's so enticing, man. I actually got Stitcher now.
Yeah, I got it. It's great. It's a great service.
I listen to the Joe Rogan show. It's like awesome. Ringside Report. I mean, second best show in like North America. And you know what? It's fun. Like when you're bored, when you're in like the washroom and just sitting there and doing your business, you gotta listen to something. Man.
Everybody likes a good podcast,
Yeah.
and Stitcher has podcasts, comedy. They've got a lot of stuff. So
got
go
everything.
to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code Ringside.
And it's a month free, man. What more do you want?
Anything else you wanted to do in the commercial break before we get back to the show, AJ?
Well, I was gonna ask you, like, how come you haven't mentioned my CDs on the table? Can't you see my Christmas motif? This is for Johnny and Freddie.
I didn't notice you had Christmas CDs.
So, thank you. So I got a Twitter message, and it said like, AJ, your show is like the Ringside Report is awesome. Like I love it. And
who sent you the message?
Was
it one of your
JJ Big Boots?
Was it one of your dummy accounts?
JJ Big Boots?
Like Woods UK?
What?
Is Woods UK you?
My name is AJ. So
who's Alf?
Again, you told me that like a long time ago.
Who's Helium Siam? Is that you? Is that one of your dummy accounts? Or is that a real person?
Dave Simon.
I see a lot of comments and I'm like, is that AJ or is that somebody else? I think AJ has a lot of fake accounts. AJ, do you have fake accounts? Do you think I have
that much time?
Yes.
Oh my God. So let me say, to JJ Big Boots, he asked me, listen, AJ, what do you listen to at Christmas? I'm going to tell you something, Big Boots, or was it Big Booty? I can't remember. But Dave, do you see my selection here?
No.
This is what it goes down to. When AJ has a Christmas with his uncle.
Tell us what you have.
His Uncle Benny and Mary and Louisa and Lucy and Carmen and his cousin Mary and her boyfriend.
Caden there?
No, her boyfriend.
Caden wasn't there.
Caden, I'm going with the Italian side here.
Caden's
and her
not
boyfriend.
Italian? Caden's half Italian, no?
Caden is a half Italian, exactly.
Yeah.
So then,
shout out to Caden, my boy Caden.
Dave, you're ruining it, man. So you're ruining it. You're ruining the skit here. So the thing is, to my cousin Mary and her boyfriend Jean. Imagine we have a Jean.
There's
at
a
Christmas
Jean
dinner.
Italian
Jean,
family.
but to my aunt, she calls him Jeans. So the thing.
Any Rocco?
But of course, there's a Rocco.
Who
doesn't have a Rocco in a family?
Yeah,
there's always a Rocco.
Well, in an Italian family, I don't have a Rocco in my family, but I wish I did.
So why don't you have your next kid and name him Rocco?
Because I'm not Italian.
Rocco Simon, man.
That'd be weird.
That'd be cool, man. Rocco Simon, or Freddie. Freddie, if you ever have another kid, you can name him Rocco.
It's a good idea.
Rocco Garcia. It'd be
That's
a perfect
badass
Yeah,
name.
it'd be a good boxing name.
Hey, my name's Rocco Garcia.
Hey, Dad, come over here so I can knock you out. So listen, I'm only 2 years old, but I'll knock you out, Daddy. So listen, this is my collection for Christmas. So since we don't do like on Ringside Report like Johnny North and Dave on their show, they review like food and movies and 90 Day Fiancé, which they actually started watching, which is pretty cool and it's a bit weird. But we're gonna get to the Easies, Dave's Easies. So, Dave, tell me about the CD. Let me tell you about the CDs here. You didn't ask me, like, why are these CDs here?
Tell me about them.
What I like to do is my
Biggie CD?
music of the year.
You brought me back my Biggie CD.
Wait, don't say it yet. My music of the year and for Christmas is, I always listen to Mozart. So I got a beautiful, like, classical music with Mozart. Then Dave was talking about something earlier in the show, and most Italians love this beautiful CD. It's called La Musica della Mafia. So every Italian has one of these CDs at home.
La Musica de Harry Fraud.
No, della Mafia.
Oh, sorry.
So this is a collection of music for the Mafia since like 1876 or something like that. So this is another AJ recommendation. And then when the night gets a little quiet and AJ needs to kick up like the Italian party, I bring in Dave's favorite. I started listening to it now. It's called Dave?
Yeah, bigger baby.
Exactly. The Notorious B.I.G. So listen, the B.I.G. gets the party going. So these are my three like picks for JJ Big Boots or JJ Big Booty. So now you know.
What's your favorite Notorious B.I.G. song?
Well, I know what it is now because Dave explained it to me, but I thought it was In the Loop. But number 3 on the Notorious B.I.G., Ready to Die CD. Number 3 is my favorite pick. And it's actually called Gimme the Loot and not In the Loop. But it's the same thing. It comes to the same thing. AJ likes it. Give me the loot, Dave.
Give me the loot.
Give me the loot. Me and Freddie want the loot. Joe Rogan is driving like some kind of like, I don't know, Tesla or like whatever. AJ wants a Tesla. Freddie wants a Mercedes.
I want a Tesla too.
And what about your Yeezys? Because somebody's making the money.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Dave, give a shout out, man.
These are Yeezys.
Like,
These
honestly,
the new Yeezy Slide.
I thought they were Crocs at first, but they're not Crocs, and I tried them, and I'll tell you something.
Yeah, AJ, you were all ready to diss them. They're like nice and chunky. They're awesome.
They're like chunky.
Kanye West designed slides. First time Yeezy puts out a slide, I had to get the new Yeezy Slide because I love Yeezy shoes. So I had to get the slides, and they are awesome.
Look, I tried them on, and I'll be honest. I'm like, what are these things? But they're so comfortable. And I said, these are great shoes for like jiu-jitsu guys or guys that are like judo guys or whatever before they get on the mat or whatever. They're amazing. So Yeezy, it's a buy. But
Kanye, like, you did it again. You're a genius.
Kanye. Isn't he married to a Kardashian?
Yeah, Kim Kardashian.
Well, he did it.
We love Kim Kardashian on this show, all right?
Does he still call his father-in-law like...
I know a lot of these like old white guys like to diss Kim Kardashian. I don't know what it is when you hit
old white guys?
Yeah, when you hit a certain age, when you're like an old white guy, you like to diss Kim Kardashian for no reason in particular. It's like not a good look, man. You need to chill on that.
Yeah, but like...
There's no reason to just take shots at Kim Kardashian.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. People like use her as a punching bag. I don't like that.
But what's she famous for, Dave? Like, I'm like...
Freeing people from prison.
What?
Being married to Kanye
What
West.
is she, Nelson Mandela?
She's freed a couple people at least from prison.
I know a few people at Archambault that like to get a hands on her, like if they can free her.
Take it easy.
We know them. La Musica della Mafia. Here it is. CD number 2. Italian Christmas.
Shout out to everybody locked down, enjoying the holidays. I'm sure it's rough for everybody.
I know they listen to us. The prison guys always listen to us.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I know.
They listen to us, man. Happy Eggnog Day.
Yeah.
Minus the alcohol. I know. So, Dave, who did she free, man? Are you serious? Is this a joke?
No, Kim Kardashian has freed people from prison.
I thought she was like into music. She made a CD or something, or she has a perfume or something like that.
Help people.
Help people
Well,
what?
there's one, Alice Johnson, that she freed from prison. She helped
Alice
her.
Cooper.
Another guy.
Another guy? Interesting name.
A Washington, D.C. here. What's this? Inmate. Yeah, Washington, D.C. inmate. This is this year she did this. This Momolu Stewart, 39-year-old. He was convicted in 1999 after being tried as an adult at age 16. But he had his life... He did nearly 23 years behind bars for murder, but he had his life sentence suspended, and he was freed in October.
Yeah, but wait a sec. Did he murder someone?
I don't know.
I guess so. So why are you freeing this guy earlier if he murdered someone?
I don't know. If you're 16...
This Kim Kardashian.
If you're 16 and you murder somebody, should you be in jail forever?
Yeah.
Forever?
I guess the parents of whoever he murdered would probably agree with that.
I don't know.
I guess they're not a Kardashian.
I don't know if he actually murdered this person. It's possible he didn't, you know?
Well, that's a different story.
There's a lot of he's a black guy. There's a lot of innocent black guys in prison in the United States. You know, there's a lot
O.J.
of
Simpson.
them. No, he's not one of them.
Oh, sorry,
AJ. No,
I thought that was a Kardashian. Like
just because you share like half your name with OJ doesn't mean you need to support him.
But didn't like Kim
AJ?
Kardashian's dad like defend OJ?
Yeah.
There we go. Bingo.
Bingo bango.
Free OJ.
AJ, OJ, AJ, OJ, AJ, OJ.
But AJ don't run. You don't remember that?
AJ don't run like after you murder
somebody. You remember
somebody?
when they were saying like OJ run, run OJ. The whole car scene.
After you murder somebody, you just stay at the scene. Is that what you're saying? AJ, don't murder anybody.
I'm not gonna. What are you talking about, Dave?
I don't know. You're saying AJ don't run.
Dave.
So like,
Dave,
you do murder, but you don't run away afterwards. Like what? What are you saying?
Dave. I'm Catholic. We don't kill anybody. Mazel tov. Hold on a sec. Something doesn't seem right here.
Yeah, had to do that.
Run, OJ, run.
Had to do that.
I wonder what he's doing nowadays. Like, what does he do, man?
He's on Twitter. What are you talking about? Fred is like his biggest fan on Twitter.
What?
Fred loves OJ on Twitter.
You know what? We should get him on the show,
Call
Dave.
me crazy, but the Buffalo Bills need a better quarterback. Like, that's what he does on Twitter. Like, he talks about football. He's, like, giving advice on Twitter. It's ridiculous.
Why don't we get him on the show, Dave? Seriously.
No, because I don't really want guys who've murdered people on the show.
Maybe he has an opinion on who's the best fighter of the year.
I don't really care about his opinion. I don't care
or
about
the
OJ.
best kill of the year. I don't know.
Wow, that's... Can we stop and get to the show, AJ?
Oh, yeah,
You're making me uncomfortable. All right. And welcome back. It's Ringside Report. I'm Dave Simon. AJ DeLessio is here with me. Freddie Garcia is not. It is our year-end holiday edition, our last show of the year, last show of the decade. If you missed what happened before the break, we were given our Fighter of the Year, Fighter of the Decade, a nice discussion about who was the most important fighter over the past 10 years. A lot of opinions, a lot of disagreements, and that's what we have here on Ringside Report every week, whether it's on TSN 690 or on YouTube. We're live on YouTube, by the way, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ringsidereport.net. Go to our website, ringsidereport.net. We're here right now. We're going to preview Bellator Japan. I really hope what happened to Josh Barnett does not happen this weekend. Barnett was all ready to fight against Honey Marks, and he got sick.
He got some like virus or something.
He got some sort of virus in Hawaii or in the travel or whatever.
He had Teresa or something like that.
But he was super sick, and the fight didn't happen. That was the main event. That's what everybody came to see, and the fight just didn't happen.
Dave, I was watching that live, by the way. So I went from like the Bellator fight going right into like UFC Korea. I didn't sleep at all. I was up from like 10 o'clock till like 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. And you know what really peed me off? Because that whole fight at Bellator, I mean, it was all pumped up around Barnett. And the fights are going through, so like it's the main card and they're stepping up. And then the next card that's supposed to come on is Barnett. And there was like some lag or something. Something was like weird. And all of a sudden, like commentator comes up and it's like, well, we regret to inform you, but like the Josh Barnett fight is canceled. And we're talking like when it's supposed to be on, like in 20 minutes.
They didn't tell you when the show started?
No, man. It
so
was
you're
during.
Sitting there waiting for something that's never even gonna happen.
Exactly. And that's like a huge like no. I mean, for like everybody that's in the crowd waiting for the Barnett fight, and it didn't happen. I mean, it was a good card overall, but like why do you wait till like the last 45 minutes or whatever to say like the poor guy has Teresa and he can't get to the ring? That's what happened. Apparently there was some like bug on the island and it's going around and everybody was getting sick, and unfortunately Barnett got it, and that's it.
But how does Bellator wait till the last minute? Like, I was watching that show. I watched the beginning of it, and they didn't mention anything about Barnett, but then I had other things to do, and I was like, I'll watch it tomorrow morning. And then I find out, like, on Twitter, I was like, oh, Barnett didn't even fight.
I know. I
guess I didn't miss anything.
I messaged you through our messenger. Like, we have a Ringside Report messenger service, and we chat back and forth. And I mentioned, I'm like, Dave, Fred, man, do you believe this? Barnett's not fighting.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous. But the thing is that if I recall, way back, Bellator did the same thing with a main card fighter. I just can't think of who it was. But it did happen in the past where it's just like last minute, look, Be straight up with your.
Was it Ken Shamrock? Maybe.
It was one of those fights. It could have been Ken Shamrock.
Shamrock and Kimbo. Remember that when Shamrock got cut before the fight and the fight got canceled? Wasn't that Bellator?
It's very possible. I know it was a big name, but they waited till the last minute and everybody just started freaking out and whatnot. Be straight up and say, listen, this fight's not taking place. I'm sure Josh Barnett knew way before that he was not fighting. So, I mean, they just tried to carry it on, I guess, for ratings and that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is that in the end, it bites you in the butt. And no, for myself, I was up all night waiting for that fight. And then it was the second to last fight. And then they're like, oh, Barnett's not fighting.
And then it didn't even happen.
It didn't happen. And it's like, oh, man, that's a bummer. I waited this whole time. I could have went to sleep and just watched this whole card the next day. But I didn't. I wanted to watch it live and then go straight into UFC Korea. But
did you do that? Did you stay up?
Freddie was freaking out. I think at 3 a.m, he's like, AJ, are you serious? You're still up? And I'm like, I'm going, man. Pour me the coffee. I'm still going through. In fact, I had a neck kink for 2 days.
When did UFC Korea end?
It started at 2 a.m, and then the prelims, that was the pre-fights, and then the prelims started at 3. I watched it from 3 till about 5 when the main card came up. And, and then it just carried through. And
you watched the main card too?
Of course, man, to the last fight. It was awesome. I watched it to the Korean Zombie.
That's dedication.
That's dedication, man. But it's also a fight fan, man. You want to see this fight, and it's unfortunate that most people didn't get to watch it live because it was at 3 a.m. start time.
Yeah, I wasn't watching that live.
Man, let me tell you, the people that did watch this fight or this last card of the year, it was awesome. And I thought it was the crowd that was in Korea. I mean, it was they're wild, man. And the fights, we had some great Canadian fighters out there.
Now, Cyril Gane, great heavyweight prospect, a guy from France, a guy we've seen fight here in Montreal a bunch. He beat Tanner Boser, got a unanimous decision. Cyril looked good?
Cyril looked incredible. And you know what? He was fighting another Canadian from out west. He was a champion from out west. Cyril Gane is actually fighting out of Montreal, training Montreal and France. Yeah, he's back and forth. And let me tell you, Cyril Gane, which was good about this fight, it was a 3-round fight with heavyweights. Generally, heavyweights, it's knockout, goodbye, in the first round most of the time. I mean, they don't go to distance, 3 or 5 rounds, but these guys were just going at it, and Cyril Gane just got better and better each round, and he was just devastating. He was incredible, and most people that don't know Cyril Gane should start to know Cyril Gane. I mean, if you look at his Twitter page the last 2 days, and you see the shape that this guy is as a heavyweight, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He's a monster, and he is a heavyweight with very little body fat, and he's a super nice guy because he was, Ringside Report obviously interviewed him, and
he's our guy.
He's our guy. He's a great.
2020 could be the year of Cyril.
I think so. I think so because he's not just a fluke. He's a very talented fighter.
We got a lot of fights to get to here, AJ. We got other things to get to.
Man.
Well, we can't just talk about Cyril. We got other fighters here. Charles Jourdain, our buddy. He sent us a nice message from Korea when he was out there with his coach. And
why don't you put it up, Dave?
You put it up.
No, I was going to say put it up for our listeners.
Take it easy, AJ. So Jourdain beat Doo-Ho Choi by TKO in the second round. A really nice kick there by Jourdain, looking fantastic. And he picks up his first UFC victory. So congratulations to Quebec's own Charles Jourdain.
But the thing about Charles is that he was fighting the Korean Superboy, which is basically a hero in Korea.
And he was an underdog in the fight,
He was a big underdog.
And we said, look out for that. I think Jourdain's going to win.
Look, if people would have listened to our picks, they would have made some money because our picks were right on the nose. We were right. And the thing is that most people didn't know Charles.
Didn't I pick Frankie Edgar, though? Didn't we all pick Frankie Edgar?
No, I took the Zombie. I took the Zombie. Of course, man. It's the Korean Zombie. Don't mess around with the Zombie. But back to Charles Jourdain because he deserves the credit. He came in here, fought Superboy, who's been training in the Army for the last 2 years. This is a guy who's in top shape. He looked great. And the fight wasn't an easy fight. It was like a brawl. But the thing is that Jourdain, man, he just picked it up and he looked awesome. He gave these combinations and a knockout, and it was a TKO win. But the thing is that it was a fight of the night. And it was a great, what I liked about Charles is that his English is pretty good for a Quebecer. he looks like a great representative for the next Canadian potential fighter.
Yeah.
And I like the way he ended it. He said this. He's like, you know what, Dana White, you got to really help me out. I believe this is fight of the night. I need fight of the night so I could get out of my mom's basement.
Yeah.
And like people were laughing and everything. And the guy's a really cool guy. So the thing is that there's a lot of marketability with Jourdain as a great fighter and really a great ambassador for MMA.
He's a young guy, and he's very talented. He's in the UFC at the right time, I think, in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a division where there's a lot of room to move upwards. It's not a jam-packed division like 155 pounds where it's so hard to get a big fight and kind of move up in the division. At 145, where Jourdain is, there's room to kind of move up and get big fights and kind of get to a title shot relatively quickly, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Now,
and this was a tough
lot
fight,
of people talk to me and ask me, you know, who's going to be the next big Canadian fighter in the UFC? Who's going to be the next Quebec fighter in the UFC even, right? Who's the next guy from here, Canada, Quebec, Montreal, wherever you're from, that we can look at and we can kind of pay attention to? I think it might be Charles Jourdain.
I agree with you.
I mean, I really do, man. Like, seeing him on the local scene, he was incredible, tremendous talent. He's a young guy.
Two-belt champion.
He seems dedicated to the sport, and now he picks up a really nice win in the UFC against a tough guy at 145 pounds, and you think, well, there might be something here, and Jourdain might be the next great Canadian hope.
There's something special about the kid. Like I said, there was a lot of pressure coming into this fight, not only with the time change and whatnot, but Jourdain played it smart. He went into Korea 2 weeks earlier. He got used to the time and the changes and all that kind of stuff. So he's just a smart fighter. And on top of it all, like, he's fighting a hometown hero. A lot of pressure on the guy. There wasn't too many Jourdain fans in the beginning. He's in Korea. By the end of the fight,
right,
he got a whole new following in Korea. The Koreans love this guy. He's very respectful. And like I said, there's something special about this kid. And I think we're going to be talking more about Jourdain in 2020. And hopefully we can get him on the show, which he said he would come.
For sure. I'm sure we'll talk to him on the show in 2020. He'll definitely be here. Marc-Andre Barriault, he suffered a decision loss to Jun-Young Park. A tough fight there.
Tough fight
for Barriault. Tough fight for Frankie Edgar, too. He loses by TKO in the first round, goes unconscious. The Korean Zombie beats him up.
You know what?
It's rough outing for Edgar, but, Zombie, he's one of these guys. Talk about title shot at 145. You knock out Frankie Edgar like that, people are going to be considering you, for a title shot. Of course, Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski probably going to do a rematch after their fight that went to a decision for the title where Volkanovski took it there a couple weeks ago. But I think after that, you can look at Korean Zombie as a potential contender here. Maybe Zombie against Ortega or somebody like that next would be fun, right?
Sure. Look, he's won 3 of his last 4, and I think Ortega would be the fight for the Korean Zombie next. But you know what? He looked awesome. He looked really, really good, comfortable, and he beat Frankie, and Frankie looked good. You know, his hair was a little bit off. He kind of looked like maybe a Ben Askren kind of hairstyle. Other than that, he looked good. But you know what? It's the Korean Zombie, so he won in his hometown, and he's moving up.
All right, let's get to the fight here this weekend. Fedor versus Rampage. Fedor coming in as a -115 favorite. Rampage -105 the underdog. This fight basically a pick'em. It's Bellator Japan. Fedor Emelianenko coming off a knockout loss back in January to Ryan Bader. Lost in 35 seconds. He is 43 years of age from Storyosko, Russia. Rampage from Memphis, Tennessee, 41 years of age. He didn't fight at all in 2019. This will be his first fight of the year, his last fight of the year as well, coming up on the 28th of December. His last fight was on the 29th of September 2018 when he knocked out Wanderlei Silva. So Rampage is on that Pride Legends Tour, fighting Wanderlei and now fighting Fedor in Japan. Rampage is the underdog, but I'm going with Rampage. I think Rampage has had more success recently than Fedor. I think Rampage has a better chin than Fedor, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. When Fedor has lost recently, it's been via knockout. When Rampage has lost, it's been by decision. You'd have to go way back to 2005 when Shogun Rua knocked him out with sucker kicks to find the last time Rampage was knocked out. Rampage has a solid jaw. He is hard to knock out. Fedor has taken a lot of shots, and I don't think he can take a shot like he used to. Bader put him out in 35 seconds. I think Rampage is going to put him out too. I've got Rampage by knockout this weekend. I love Fedor, but it's not the same Fedor. I think Rampage wins because he hits hard, and he's got a heavier, he's got a better chin than Fedor does.
Well, no, that's for sure. I mean, Fedor's biggest obstacle right now is his chin, which is kind of surprising because the last Emperor was like, he was unbeatable. So
yeah, he could take a shot like a ton of bricks. He could take Krokop's kicks to the face and walk right through them. But that's in 2005. You know, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's not the same Fedor. And unfortunately, when you make a career out of being tough and taking a lot of punches, eventually you can't do that anymore.
No, absolutely. But you can't forget that Fedor has like basically a thunder punch. I mean, he winds up his punches like from his waist, and he kind of barrels them over. And if he connects Rampage, he's going to sleep. But the thing with this fight is that
Rampage hasn't been knocked out in 14 years.
Listen, if anybody can knock out Rampage, it's Fedor. So
Fedor was knocked out 11 months ago.
You know, for sure. Like, you're right. His jaw is not there, but he can still wield that punch, which will knock out many men, and Rampage could go down.
Not Rampage.
But the thing is that Rampage's biggest problem right now is that he doesn't want to wrestle anymore. He does not want to wrestle. His wrestling game is done. The thing is that he even puts things in his contracts where he wants to avoid any type of wrestler. That's why he's going with Fedor. He's hoping that it's going to be a stand-up fight, and he's going to win. But the thing with Fedor is that if he really wants to win this fight, maybe he shouldn't stand up with Jackson and take him to the ground and do what he does best.
Have you ever watched Fedor fight? Have you ever seen him game plan? This guy just runs at you and wings giant punches and hopes for the best.
Exactly.
He runs at you, he wings giant punches. Sometimes he'll grip you with double underhooks and do one of those trip takedowns. But he's not going to shoot on Rampage and push him against the fence and Khabib him. That's not Fedor's game. Fedor's game is those winging punches and those trip takedowns. And he's not going to be able to trip takedown Rampage. He's not going to be able to wing those punches. Rampage is going to come up underneath with one of those hooks or an uppercut, and he's going to nail Fedor, and he's going to put him to sleep. AJ, you got Fedor. I've got Rampage. You want to bet another dozen bagel? I'll take 2 dozen from you.
You know what? Look, I'm going to tell you this. It's Fedor. He's a Sambo champion.
Double or nothing.
If he plays the game,
we're going double
he's taking
or nothing.
Rampage down, and it's going to be like ground and pound. Fedor's going to win it. It's going to be a stoppage. So remember, Fedor, a dozen bagels. The first bag will be Poppy. The second one will be Sesame. It'll be nil.
You owe me a dozen bagels.
Okay, I owe you the dozen.
You owe me a dozen already. Now, if Fedor wins, you owe me nothing. But if Fedor loses, you owe me 2 dozen.
Fair enough, man, because I know he's not going to lose. Fedor's winning this.
Done. Double or nothing.
Last Emperor, don't let me down,
Double or nothing bagel bet, and that's how we end the year. How did it all turn out? Find out next decade on Ringside Report Live. We'll be back next Thursday live on YouTube at 8 p.m. www.ringsidereport.net is our website. Every Friday night on TSN 690 Radio. Shout out to Marco. We love you for helping us out. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. Still going on.
Happy Festivus.
Happy Festivus is over, but Hanukkah is still rocking.
So is Christmas, man.
Well, Christmas is the 20th.
No, it's the 12 days of Christmas. It starts yesterday and it continues for 12 days.
Oh, I thought the 12 days ended on Christmas.
You think? No.
I didn't know the 12. I don't know the 12 days. But Happy New Year. That's most important.
You know my true love gave to me?
Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. Well, we can't say it now, Dave. We got to say it next week,
Well,
man.
this is our last show before the New Year.
Okay, so Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2020.
We love you. Thank you for supporting the Ringside Report Network. And we're going to be doing way more. I mean, it's been a massive year in 2019. Look at the studio.
Man, we're growing, man.
I mean, this studio, the YouTube channel, everything that
YouTube TV.
everything that we've done here in 2019. You look at where we were in January and where we are in December of 2019. We're moving in the right direction, and 2020 it's going to be even more. So keep supporting the Ringside Report Network. Keep watching the shows. Keep listening to the shows. Keep downloading it. www.ringsidereport.net. Follow AJ on all the things at Danny Brook. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dave Simon MMA. Thank you to Johnny and Freddie. We love you. We'll see you soon. Thank you to everybody for listening and watching. Happy New Year. This has been Ringside Report 2020. Happy New Year.